Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our inService podcast. My name is Gerardo Pelayo. I'm the Vice President of Research and Advisory here at Service Council. And today we're going to be talking about AI and how to drive value and experience for service. We're joined by Ashok Kartham, CEO and Founder of Circuitry.ai. Ashok, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Gerardo. It's great to join you on this podcast during a very exciting time when the service industry is going through another transformative change enabled by AI.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So we'll get to know you a little bit better in a second. And just by means of introducing the topic a little bit, one of the things that is very interesting right now and very necessary is as we talk about all the possibilities that AI brings to the table, there's this risk of sometimes pursuing the advanced and what's next and losing focus of what is relevant and how the technologies can change the experience, how it's perceived by those that it's meant to empower. So we'll be deep diving on that, going through some examples and what are some of the drivers that will make or break this type of experiences. Before we jump into that, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. So we're live, and for our LinkedIn audience, we always like you to be active, participating. You can comment over here, and we'll do our best to incorporate that into the conversation, address any questions, whether you agree or not with any of the material that we're covering. That's how we enrich the conversation. And today's podcast is recorded. It will be available in the different streaming services that you utilize, from YouTube, Spotify, you know it. So you can come back to it, review some of the materials that you might have missed or want to revisit as we go along. And without further ado, so Ashok, you and I have had a chance to interact, to get to know each other. Thank you for being with us at this Motor Services Symposium last month. But some of our audience may not be familiar with you yet. So do you mind giving us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and Circuitry.ai?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Ashok Kartham. I'm the founder and CEO of Circuitry.ai. For the last 25 years, I had the opportunity to be founder and CEO of multiple software companies. I had the opportunity to build and grow software companies to deliver service lifecycle management for many of the large global manufacturers. One of the companies, 4CS, was acquired by PTC long time ago, and then the next company, Mize, merged with Synchron a few years ago. Now I have the opportunity to start Circuitry.ai, excited by the potential that AI has to offer. Across all these companies, again, I led the teams who have worked with the hundreds of global manufacturers in delivering service lifecycle management solutions, whether it's warranty, field surveys, technician enablement, and service management type of solutions. And again, I was fortunate to get into this domain, working on some of the software systems at John Deere. That was a great learning start for me, and great to be join this conversation, Gerardo, and talk about how AI is changing service.
Great. Thank you for that. And if I may double click, do you mind expanding a little bit of how Circuitry interacts with your customers? What is the role that you play? What are the type of problems that you're addressing, just briefly?
Sure. Circuitry.ai is a decision intelligence platform for manufacturers to optimize service and customer outcomes. Right? We provide AI-powered, for example, for this discussion, product called Service AI Advisor, to improve product uptime, service team productivity, and service experience to do this. And then we provide this as an enterprise AI as a service solutions to companies on a subscription model.
Great. So with that background, let us jump into the conversation. And the first thing that I want to get to is the momentum that we're seeing with AI. Huge jump this year, as we would have expected, from 32% of service leaders in 2023 saying that AI was part of the focus technology that they were planning to invest. That doubled at the beginning of 2024 to 62%, and chances are it's going to continue increasing. And there's not a lot of discussion around that, but we do know that a volume of activity doesn't necessarily mean that it is the right activity and that it is being focused in the right ways. So from your experience, I want to ask you, how do you see this greater focus around AI manifesting itself?
Sure. As you said, it's been very exciting last couple of years in AI, even though a lot of the advances have been there before. With the recent advances in deep learning, as well as the generative AI using the transformer models, I think AI has become the next frontier to drive improvements in productivity. Almost every company is considering how they can apply AI to improve service and other areas in a way. But customer service has become one of the most important areas where AI can help tremendously. Right? The focus, of course, will be there on more feasible use cases that can deliver like a highest value. We feel we have identified several of those key pain points. For example, in this industry, I know we talked about the Service Council Symposium too. Number of service leaders talked about that. There is a worker shortage, skilled worker shortage that can perform these repairs. And so the use cases in enabling them so they have the right knowledge, they have the right resources to perform the jobs is one of the main use cases. Right? Even though in the beginning, people have used ChatGPT and other applications to generate text and other content, but we feel like applying it to where there is a real improvements in productivity, either in the field service, contact centers, or even enabling the customers, I think is an area companies can benefit a lot from.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And I really want to jump into that experience of the frontline and how AI can influence that challenge that service leaders are seeing across the board. A little bit of a baseline first, because as we're seeing with technology in general, and even more prominent with AI, this challenge to scale, where north of 80% of organizations say they have some initiatives to ideate, incubate new ventures. Less than 20% are able to scale them. And depending on the research that the study that you look at, this number oscillates between 20 and 25% of the success stories. Are there any systematic blind spots that you've come across with organizations that perhaps things that are not considered as they kick off these initiatives but should?
Yeah, those numbers are very consistent with what we learned from the companies too, Gerardo. Only about 15% of the projects, AI projects make beyond the POC side of it when the customers are trying. I kind of see like mainly three key factors that could influence that. First, identifying the right use cases with the important problem and a good return or a value for it. Because of the hype with the AI, there is a lot of experiments or small projects that are going on, but I think it's very important to identify that right use case in the surveys to do it. Second, I know AI now, because of the common excitement, seen as a very broad solution, but AI can do a good job actually when it is applied narrowly to do one task, narrow task well. So I think having that vertical solution experience with industry, domain, as well as process area focus, I think will help these projects to be more successful than looking at it as a generic tool. The last one I would say is, again, it's very important to manage the change, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, more coming up, and also focus on the key business metrics. Like in the service, for example, what are the use cases that can improve the product uptime, productivity of the service technicians, or the profitability for the business? I think selecting those use cases, applying the right vertical expertise, and then manage the change, I think are the ways we see companies can increase that success ratio.
Yeah, so let's start to land the plane on that experience that you talk about. And We just wrapped up last month our annual survey on the voice of the field service engineer. We've gotten north of 10,000 responses over the last couple of years there. So very significant sample. And one of the things that was interesting this year is when we search for what are the capabilities that technicians do not have today, but they would find very valuable in their day-to-day job. The one that came up at the top of the list was AI-assisted troubleshooting steps. And even more surprising was that we didn't just say this for the younger demographics, but we saw it across the board. So can you, building on this, can you share a little bit about how AI is influencing this experience of the field service technicians?
Absolutely. I think we are very glad that that's where field service technicians also see the value, because that's what our use case for service advisory is focused on, is how do we provide the more precise answers, step-by-step guidance, or a troubleshooting for technicians or the contact centers to do it using the AI. In the past, when there is, let's say, technician need to find a solution, they have to go through multiple steps. I know even if a survey showed they are either contacting friend or a contact center, or even when they have access to information digitally, they have to search for it, open some large documents, search for the solution. All of these things are time consuming and difficult for them to find it. I think where AI is helping is being able to compose a precise and accurate answer based on the need, based on the context of the product, all of that. So they get that troubleshooting, step-by-step guidance, or even answers for any of the questions, either they are trying to find parts or the solutions to do it. That way, I think AI is making it much easier for technician access to this knowledge, which was much harder to find before.
Yeah, and you know that that actually leads into one of the other findings of the study, which traditionally we would have seen that paperwork and admin was the thing that the technicians liked the least about their day-to-day. And we had gotten used to almost expecting this as the number one answer, and then a far second. Well, this year we had a technical tie between the latter and the time spent searching for information. And there's, as you started to touch on, part of the explanation, there's never been as much data as there is now. But it does speak to a shift from not having the right data to, okay, I know the right data is there. It's just that it's too hard to get to. There's too much other information that I don't need at this precise moment. And this can limit the way in which the knowledge base and other investments are leveraged. So perhaps can you talk a little about a specific example where AI is freeing up time on the technicians, making life easier for the frontline?
Sure. As you identified, companies, I think over the last 15, 20 years, as the digitization has increased and even the adoption of the web and that mobile has increased, I think a lot of the data is available now, but it's in multiple sources. If we take a technician's perspective, a lot of times the answers could be in service manuals, diagnostic manuals, parts catalogs, training videos, and number of other sources to do it. I think what AI has enabled is to be able to find the answer across these sources and then provide the precise answers to the technician. That way they don't have to, as we talked about, spend time searching through this. And I think that's where we are leveraging the generative AI too, is not only find the answer, but generate an answer that can be easily consumed by the technician. And then we are providing references to either it's videos or other documents where it is needed, rather than as a starting point.
Yeah, and this is a topic that I want to get back to later in the podcast. I just want to hold up a little bit because we can go very deep on this multimodal data and what is needed in order to properly address it. First, let me take a step back and talk about the experience of the contact center agent. We started talking about the field service engineer, similar reactions that we're getting there from this earlier part of the frontline. Also an interest in AI-assisted steps for troubleshooting. Are there different applications for contact centers than there are for field service technicians? Do you see a faster adoption in either one of the two?
Sure. I think the same application can be used by the contact centers. First thing that contact centers are benefiting is if they roll out a solution like this, they are actually deflecting majority of the calls for self-service. Now that the technicians are more inclined to use AI to find the answer, they may not even have to have the need to like contact a call center. Right? That's actually reducing, so contact center agents can focus on more important or critical issues to do it. Second, when they do receive the call, they again face the same challenge. The products have been changing frequently. There has been a lot of new knowledge, product knowledge or technology knowledge. Even they find it hard to keep up with. Again, AI will help them to find the right answers or even provide that step-by-step guidance so they can walk the caller through it, or sometimes even point to them on how to get this. So they are able to be more productive, resolve the issues with the first contact to do this. So it definitely helps the contact centers in the same way it's helping with helping the technicians on filling this knowledge gap. That's
and and you said they're making them more productive, and it is important, I believe, to understand that what do we mean by productivity. Even the technicians themselves, this is one of the other things that we check. 93% say that data and technology has made them more productive since they started in the profession. 90% say that it's made them more efficient. So relatively good outcomes there from that perspective. We are early in our sample for the Voice of the Contact Center Agent survey. And by the way, shameless plug, if your organization is interested in participating in this survey, it's going to be open through the through the end of the calendar year until December 31st. And we're already past 100 responses in the first week, and I think we're going to get some very, very interesting findings. So the information is going to follow up after this podcast if you want your organization represented there. Getting back to this, what one of the things we're seeing in this early returns is 3 in 4 of contact center agents see their work being benefited in terms of productivity because of technology and AI. How technology and data, sorry. So how can AI further boost this perception of productivity? How does it actually materialize? Are there any metrics, any examples that you've come across with a specific organization? I know you probably cannot name it, but what does it look like on the ground, this increase in productivity?
Sure. First thing, as you identified, I think we have been through about 2 transformation changes before. With the web, I think we all moved towards the digitization. With mobile, we made the information more accessible from anywhere to do it. I think AI, instead of just presenting the information, is able to provide as I mentioned, the right answers, guidance, or recommendations. In some cases, even automate number of the tasks that either contact center or the other people that are in administrative tasks that are involved by the technician to do it. Like, for example, if we take I know in our case too, we worked with a equipment company that has realized is 50% of these questions can be answered by AI. So to start with, there is a good improvement because these calls are deflected from the contact center to do it. In other cases, compared to now, on average, 15 minutes or more trying to find one answer, the answers can be now found in 3 seconds or within few seconds to do this. That's a significant improvement. So I think AI is making it possible to say not only you have access to the information, now you have actually access to the immediate answer or information that you could use in your decision making to do this. So I think that way we expect companies, and then I think it's confirmed with our customers too, is up to 30 to 35% improvement in productivity when you are looking for the information. We're not saying the completion of the job, and also by improving the first time fix rate, first call resolution. That's another productivity improvement, because you don't have to do this repair again, prevent second truck rolls and things like that. So I think AI is building on the productivity improvements before, and I think it has a potential for significant more improvements in this area.
Yeah, that's a very illuminating answer, Ashok. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of good nuggets there, and I want to bring in one of the comments from our audience into this, because in order to achieve these results, the question becomes also who is behind these efforts, and the question that comes in from John Carroll, CEO at Service Council, is: Are the efforts by the service leaders to build momentum with AI, are they at risk of not being as productive, becoming obsolete, because of the sometimes competing agenda from IT that could be thinking about AI from a different lens, perhaps a more systemic deployment that could slow down or shift the focus from some of these applications? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Definitely. I think I know that's a good problem that John identifies. As I was mentioning before, IT may look at AI as a generic solution. And because it's new technology and there are some concern about the governance, they may want to control it. But what we see the value is how business people can start using it and benefiting from AI within their specific applications, like what we are talking about in the field service or contact center resolution areas. And then part of our model offering as an enterprise AI as a service too, eliminate a lot of the effort by the technical teams, data engineers, data scientists, others that have to do the work, things like that. So you can have a solution that can be actually activated in some cases, even hours or days to get to the first time to value to do this. And also a lot of times, instead of focusing on the technology, if the business users can focus on what is the knowledge that can be made available for this field service side, then they can approach this as a business solution than a technology solution. Obviously, it needs to be coordinated with the IT leaders on why this is being deployed, and that there are right governance and the security mechanisms, all that can be there in place. But I think we don't see as much that friction between business leaders and IT anymore. I think it recognizes for these vertical applications, it's better to have it as a packaged application. And I think all the work done by the SaaS and the cloud vendors before, where there is a benefit, where most of the application now, instead of being built internally, have moved to the cloud, we see the same thing with enterprise AI as a service model.
Yeah, and that I think leads into another question, which is: how is the performance of these technologies assessed? Traditionally, especially when it came to analytics, we would think of it in terms of the model performance and use things like accuracy and precision and the like, more interesting for those of us that are closer to the mathematical nuance and rabbit holes there. But we are seeing more and more that the value of these technologies, and particularly of AI, is getting perceived in terms of the operational outcomes that they create, rather than the technical aspects of it. Perhaps the most notorious one being the equipment uptime. Is this something that you're also coming across, and how is it materializing?
Yes, absolutely. We definitely are very focused on the business outcomes. In the field service area, equipment uptime is one of the most important criteria, because that's what the end customer cares about. Then for field service, it's the first time resolution or time to resolution. So the service job is completed, product is up and running to do it. And then for the companies too, it's the customer satisfaction. I know the model related metrics like accuracy, precision, those kind of things are important more from a technical side. That's where our teams are also focused on monitoring those things. But I think it's the benefits will be lot more, and I think companies will realize ROI if they stay focused on these business outcome metrics. And that's our focus too. Even for the whole platform, we talk about how do we optimize the business or service outcomes. We're not talking about the technology as much. So I think we definitely see that with all our customers, and that's been our focus as a company too.
Mm-hmm. And if I may add to the to your inputs, and I insist, like, this is very illuminating. One of the sessions that we had at the symposium talked exactly about this challenge, if you will, that John's bringing up, of the need to align technical and functional roadmaps. Mm-hmm. And I believe the critical term there is alignment. We don't need to have the same metrics in both groups. We don't need to have the same objectives and priorities, but it is important that they are not competing priorities, and that they're not pulling the organization in different directions. And we had a couple of organizations sharing their experience where we had the IT leaders and the functional operational side of the house, and everybody's got their own formula for how to do this. But the commonality that I saw from that panel is they need to be talking to each other, so that everybody's aware of what do you want to get out of this. There is, as you commented, a greater awareness of technology implementations not just being technically appropriate, but that there's a bigger agency on the IT side of the house to create this financial and operational results. So I would call that a win. And the last thing I'll comment there is, when it comes to the IT side of the house, it is important to consider that viewpoint when things go wrong, like cybersecurity, for instance. It is perhaps a theme that, from an operational perspective, we don't experience on a day-to-day, but if we come across that, then it's going to definitely impact the organization's ability to operate. So just a couple of examples for why this partnership is something not to be underestimated. And as you say, that top line objective, though, it is shifting towards the operational and financial side of the house.
No, absolutely, Gerardo. As you said, I think the manufacturers consider their service content, the knowledge, and all the information to be intellectual property that gives them the differentiation. I think it's very important to say that's protected. So part of our model too is make sure this is not being used to train public AI, that it's only being used for this purpose. That's where we talk about this enterprise AI as a model to make sure that's built in from the beginning. And same way in manufacturing, the accuracy is very important. I know, which is a metric we said that needed to be monitored to achieve even the resolution and things like that. So we built a number of things to say, how do we provide accuracy over 95% plus for these answers that we are providing, and then also built some of the feedback from every user for these answers to say, did it provide the correct answer and things like that, that we are monitoring very closely, as well as, I mean, number of things that are related to security and governance are built in. So actually, I think these two departments can be aligned. I think the metrics of one actually supports the other business goals, but I think it's very important for these solutions to succeed. Number of those are actually built into the solution.
Yeah, and you keep bringing new ideas to the table. I love it because one way in which this connects, another thought is the commercial aspect of it. We see this drive the service leaders research that we did at the start of the year, where service innovation, expansion of the service portfolio were at the top of the list from a strategic perspective, and how service can help the organization grow in terms of the customers and the revenue, the margins, is a question that is more prevalent, and it's going to be very hard to answer the question if we don't have the things that you were just talking about, right? That interaction of, I want to be able to represent the benefits from an operational perspective, number one. But number two, I want to be confident that I'm going to be able to deliver once I present that offering. So that's why the technical aspect and understanding what's underneath the modeling and how it's going to be deployed is so important when organizations get ready to make those commitments and meet the expectations from a customer perspective. So great inspiration there, Ashok. And a different outcome that I also want to get into, we started touching on the time that is freed up for the frontline now because of AI and how it can make them more efficient. And as we try to understand the talent shortage, one of the things that came up and it's climbing the rankings in terms of the dislikes, unfortunately, is the amount of work hours that especially field service technicians are experiencing. Do you say that are you have you worked on any applications where this is part of the outcomes that are actively tracked or pursued as an application of AI?
Yes, yeah. This is one of the benefits that also comes from improving the productivity and providing the right solutions. Let's say we start with even technicians that are starting out, the new technicians. As we know, it takes a long time for the technicians to be onboarded. It's costly, and also they will gain from the experience. Now, I think with AI, they're able to get access to the knowledge and then operate at closer to the expert level. So if they can use those step-by-step directions and the answers to perform the repairs or service jobs more effectively, I think they can save some time there. We already talked about them saving time looking for information that they are spending, which is a good percentage of the time technicians are doing. Other aspect you talked about too, the previous iterations made it like where they have to spend time even capturing or entering data, if we take the debriefing or even understanding the history of it. I think the Gen AI's capability to summarize all the things that have happened, all the communication that have happened related to a particular work order, things like that. So there are a number of ways I think the technician can be now more productive, save time, and then work on the things they like doing it, which is actually fixing the products, fixing the customer problems to do it. So I think we do see these solutions reducing the need for overtime, right? And addressing that challenge of you are spending more time because you need more time to spend it. And also there is shortage of workers, shortage of skilled, experienced workers to do it. I think by addressing these problems, we see the overtime problem also being addressed.
Yeah, and I believe a very important point that you bring up, and it influences even the communication strategy that organizations use as they try to demonstrate the value to their teams, increase adoption, because I mentioned earlier it is a growing concern. Well, the numbers are actually 59% of technicians saying that they work over 40 hours a week, and 1 in 5 have the number of work hours that they spend, as the aspect that they like the least about their job. So this is something very tangible that organizations can do in order to influence that decision to leave the profession and address the talent shortage in a proactive way. So just to connect the dots there once again, and to have a balanced conversation, though, we've talked a lot about the benefits that it is creating for the frontline, for the reimagining of the service offerings. But part of the conversation also needs to be the resistance to AI, and especially when there's lack of clarity of anything. We tend to behave in in defensive ways and not get the benefits that could come out of that. And we checked on this during the survey. 40% of field service technicians have either a neutral or, to a lower degree, a negative feeling about the impact of AI on their job. So are there any practices, any best practices that you would recommend to proactively address this fear of AI with the frontline?
Sure. I think the first thing is setting the right expectations. As we look at, I think in the industry right now, there are actually two sides of the concerns on AI. Some see AI as an existential threat, that it may obviously take over the job or even take over the humans to do it. On the other side, some of them may see is our content or our jobs are very complex. AI cannot do a good job with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to address both sides of it to say AI is a enabling tool that augments the existing workforce, not replacing it. Especially if we take the service area, you do need to be physically there, turning the wrench, performing the repair, and do the work to do it. So it's not as much of as a job threat to do it. I think that need to be communicated. And the same way that the AI is vetted, and that's why we go through actually proof of value program with the customers to say that AI can provide the right answers in this industry with a lot of the complex data and other things that are involved to do it. I think showing that there is a true value in enabling saving time for the technicians, I think will help address this adoption side. Other thing, I think I also don't blame technicians and others to see technology skeptically, because even in the previous versions of the technology, a lot of times it may actually create an additional task them for enter data. Like if a forms is introduced, now you have to fill in more forms, or entering more information into work orders and things like that. Whereas I think the technologies that we are talking about is actually helps them to do their job better. And the way we look at it too, previous FSM technologies got the technician to the right place, maybe at the right time by routing optimization, scheduling, and all of that. We see the AI technology is once you get there, how do you perform the job more effectively, right? I think, again, communicating the value, setting the right expectations, and other thing I would say, third thing is making it easier. A lot of times technicians feel like technologies that were introduced before are hard to use because there are forms. And again, it looks like sometimes you need training just to know how to use the systems. Part of, I think, what we are doing with AI too is that it is more conversational AI, that it is not filling forms. You could talk to it. You could actually have a meaningful question that provides a more compiled answer to do it. I think, again, if you address that ease of use and how it interacts with it compared to the previous systems, I think there is real opportunity on how you can improve the adoption and reduce that resistance.
Yeah, and you've been at this game for a while, and you brought up how many of these things are common to earlier technologies, right? This needs to be addressed every time, but at the end, you said something that really caught my attention, of the more of a conversational capability, and rather than utilizing a technology, you use the words interacting with a technology. And am I right in understanding that these are perhaps some of the things that are different about AI and that should be called out in terms of addressing these fears relative to earlier technologies?
No, absolutely. I think that's one of the advantages AI is bringing to the table, Gerardo, is this conversational mode. All of us as consumers are used to ChatGPT and others where it's answering questions. I think now field service teams, say the technicians, contact centers, or even customer self-service, can have a more meaningful conversation and have a multi-turn conversation too. If you need clarifications or a follow-up to do it, it's like talking to a person, right? That experience, I think, makes the adoption better and also get to the right solution that the technicians are looking for. That also brings is, like we talked about, these technicians might be in an area where most of the time they don't have Wi-Fi access. Other things, previous modes of delivering information was heavy. It takes time to download files and things like that. by AI providing this conversational mode, it's actually the front end side, the bandwidth requirement is not as high. So again, they are getting a faster answers, don't have to wait for things, or some cases, even we have seen with the customers in the past, they were asking technician to download things overnight to be able to have the knowledge available to do it. I think the AI addresses some of these problems through that conversation. Other thing seen too is you don't have to have a complete separate application or a system to do this. Because it's conversation, you can actually interact in any channel. It's web, mobile, even like actually we are providing access, even a WhatsApp application or SMS with the verification of their phone numbers and things like that, or email, even Teams, that you could add AI advisor to do it. That's possible because of this conversational AI model, which makes it easy. You can interact in any channel. Especially if we take globally, WhatsApp is one of the most used application. Why can't technicians get the help on that, right? Instead of going to another application. So I think there are a number of things that AI is enabling that we couldn't do before because of the nature of the content and how we were interacting with the system.
And I love how you're taking us from the possibilities are endless framework to the applications that we're seeing are endless. So these are things that are not up there in the clouds, but that they're actually materializing, and I think that's really important to call out as well. And we've been talking a lot about the frontline experience and how it benefits them in different ways. One of the concerns perhaps might be of, hey, what does this mean from a customer experience? And specifically, some of the anecdotal feedback that I get asked every now and then is it going to become more transactional because of AI and less of an experience from a customer perspective? And I have an opinion on that, but I'd like to get your point of view first of how do you advise that we separate myth from fact in terms of how AI impacts the experience from a customer's perspective?
Sure. As we all know, customer cares about their product uptime and the time it takes to resolve the problem they have. And also, I think the experience they have, the feeling they have about if the person that's interacting with them is knowledgeable or not. These are all things that contribute to the customer experience, customer service experience to do it. I think by improving these aspects, you are actually improving the customer experience to do it. I think in the past, again, some of the technology, either it's IVR or a non-intelligent chatbots that were introduced before, or even the metrics in a contact center, how fast, average handling time, how fast can you turn the call around and things like that. They focused on not resolving the problem, but more these metrics of how quickly can you get through, how many calls can you handle and things like that, which again creates, like as all of us know, problem for the customer experience to do it. But I do think AI, if we focus on those right metrics of the uptime, time to resolve the problems, as well as actually helping everyone that's involved in providing the knowledgeable solution to the customers. So, and you are fixing it first time, so they don't have to wait for the parts, and if we have the right parts and things like that. So all of those things, I think actually really will help with enhancing the customer experience versus treating it as you said, another maybe we are handing off you to AI and let AI take care of it. Versus here, I think we are getting to the right solutions.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, and I do have follow up though, because one of the things that we've struggled over the years perhaps is this idea of shift left and how to resolve things earlier. That includes going from the field service technician earlier to the contact center agent, smoother experience for everybody, faster reactions. But often the ideal setup there is self troubleshooting or self resolution, so that if it's not needed, then why incorporate it? Do you see this self-resolution, the numbers, the results actually happening now with AI? What and you talked a lot of you talked earlier about setting the right expectations. So, what are some reasonable expectations of what increased self-resolution could look like with AI?
Yeah, yeah, it can definitely enhance the self-service experience for the customers. The starting point is a lot of times customers may have questions or issues related to use, operation, maintenance of the products they bought before they're getting into maybe doing the repair jobs or the service side of it. And I think previously companies might have provided a customer portal. They could look for it again, the same experience. They may have to go through multiple screens to do it. Now customers have an experience where they can easily access answers to any of those use, maintenance, and operation side of it, so they can get better value from the products. That's, I think, is definitely increasing. We see our customers also seeing that use case, and it's more true, especially if we have products that are sold like a to fleet, either it's a vehicle side or a assets, number of assets that are there. They may have actually more knowledgeable users. In some cases, their own technicians to do it. So extending this solution, what we call service advisor, definitely extends to the
Hmm.
customers. You can provide the support on operation side as well as some of the self-service to do that. And again, compared to before, this is again providing in a language that customers understand. Right? It's not about restating whatever is in the technical side that the people that are less knowledgeable, that may not work day to day on these products. I think the AI and the AI has the capability to translate it so the customers can understand it. So we do see the self-service through AI is
Hmm.
increasing and also would be more accepted by the customers.
And have you seen any specific applications there where there there was this lack of trust in the type of questions that AI would be able to address, and that what actually happened may have surprised the technicians, the agents, the sponsors of the projects even. Have you come across that, and can you? You're smiling. I'm guessing the answer is yes. So can you
Yeah,
offer some
yes.
details on that?
Yes, we have come across that. We have been working with the construction equipment company. They actually were very surprised during the proof of value too, that they actually saw the AI answering more questions than they expected. Right? It's because
Hmm.
they feel like today, if they didn't exactly write that answer in one place, that they weren't getting the answer before. Now AI is able to compile from multiple sources. So they were surprised with the answers AI is able to provide. Other thing is, as AI is, capabilities are increasing. Again, we may talk about that separately more too. Is we can look at the multiple sources of data, multiple types of data. That's also making it for people to believe that AI can answer questions not only from the text, but from
Hmm.
other sources of knowledge to do it. And then other thing that these companies are using more, and I think this helps to, there is a concern about what if we don't have the right knowledge to start with. I think we provided a capability of these expert answers. If, let's say, they get a thumbs down on one of the answers, there is an immediate capability for these experts to answer a question. Then immediately the AI learns from it, be able to next question, similar question, it can provide a better answers to do it. So again, seeing that speed with which the AI is able to learn and
Hmm.
improve the answers kind of thing is another thing we heard that as a positive surprise from the customers.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Great advice, great observations, and I do want to get into that. You just referenced it again, this multimodal data,
Mhm.
because for many years, I there was not a week where I didn't hear all my data is all over the place in different systems, different tools. But something that perhaps not everybody is aware of is what you just brought up, the different formats in which that data lives. And that includes the text, it includes diagrams,
Mhm.
schematics, you were talking about video. So I believe this is a topic that is not as well as properly understood as it should be. Can you share some light on why is AI a good fit to manage this, and what is the recommended path in terms of the challenges that one would typically come across when dealing with different formats?
Sure. I think AI is definitely enabling, even though it started with the text, as I mentioned, being able to take other types of content. example, for the customers recently, we started actually training on the training videos or other video content companies may have, or they have recorded in the field to do it. Now we are able to easily get the transcript out of it and use it as if it's a knowledge that can be trained. And then more importantly too, when they find the answer, we're able to get to the right place in the video instead of them figuring out where in the video the answer that they are looking for is. So same way, I think not only it's allowing those video, audio transcripts to be trained like for the AI to provide the answers to do it. We are also focusing on other types of content, especially in the manufacturing. Parts catalogs are very important. There are different types of relationship. One of the things we found is how we train the AI, not just on as a text, that it's very relevant that what relationships exist within the parts, within the assemblies, components and systems, preserving the data, training it so it can provide the right part recommendation, I think is another thing where, again, we see this type of content that can be trained. And the example you mentioned is schematics. We see that most of the products now have more and more ECUs or electronic computers and software components to do it. And we technicians rely on the wiring diagrams or in hydraulic schematics to do it. They cannot be easily understood answered by generate answers from an LLM, because it's not just the text data. There are connections there. There are different types of data, and mostly maybe in SVG and all that. It's in an XML format to do it. So one of the things we work with is how do we train the AI on these schematics that understands this and can answer the questions of how a wire connection exists, what type of a wire it is, and what are the endpoints across a large product to do it. I think those being able to support those type of questions and the content, I think is very important too for manufacturing vertical compared to others where a lot of the knowledge could be in text.
Yeah, no, that I believe that can be really transformational because it hits on multiple levels. It changes the way that we think about the knowledge management foundation. It changes the way in which the experience is going to be perceived by those using these different sources. And
one thing I want to add there too, Gerardo, is like we talk about that too, the content types. Not only this knowledge, obviously we are increasingly now starting to do is even the structured data, the previous transactions, the life cycle transaction that happened in the product, or even take the onboard diagnostic files that can be provided directly from the product or through diagnostic tools and things like that. I think over time, if we take all these different bill of material, a lot of these types of content, train the AI to provide better answers, I think I think customers will continuously do that. I think we are also learning from that as we work with the customers. What are the types of content that exist, even if it's the format is the same, but the structure is different, the meaning is different, and how to train it are different. And I think we continuously enhance it, and the customers see the value from it.
Yeah, that's very insightful, and it is also great to see that with all your experience, it just shows how you continue to get excited about these problems, and I think that speaks volumes about how this is a game changer, right? It's definitely not business as usual. So as we're nearing the end of our session today, is there any other gotcha moment, any specific application that you'd like to call out, which we may not have touched on, or even emphasizing one of the key takeaways that we've covered today?
As we talked about, I think as far as the gotcha type of things, I know as we talked about, I think the quality of the data is important because AI at the end is being trained on the existing knowledge and the data to do it. But instead of focusing on just the problem, so a lot of times customers are concerned about if we don't have the right data, we cannot start with AI too. I think with these advisor products, we also have seen you can start with what you have and build it over time or through the tribal knowledge and be able to add to it. And I do think that's one thing that customers need to balance that. Definitely data quality is very important, but it shouldn't be focused on, again, we use the term not just being data-centric, but being decision-centric. To make this decision what is required, And I think there is a statistic that says too, less than 20% of the data that's collected actually used in a decision. So if you can get that part right, you could have AI performing well. Right?
Yeah, that's a great note and a great way to close the conversation today. Before I let you go, though, so we insist a lot that service is people, and you've given us a lot of nuggets, a lot of your insights, and I appreciate it. It's been a very rich conversation today. But perhaps getting to know a little bit about Ashok from a personal level. Is there any passion project that you'd like to share with the audience? Anything that you're looking forward to that could be public?
Sure. I think one thing I love and like doing it, I have done some, but not enough, is I like traveling, visiting lots of new places all over the world. I mean, last year I had a chance to visit like Iceland, Peru, which were amazing. I
Oh,
enjoyed it
wow.
very much. And I have in my list to even, I think, some place I haven't been in Africa or South America to do it. So that's something that I get excited about. Hopefully I get more and more time to do that in the coming years. And then I think that leads to two is hopefully before it's too late, I'm very interested in space tourism. Hopefully either Elon Musk or somebody else provide an opportunity to make some type of a trip there. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and keep looking for that opportunity in the next maybe 5-10 years time period here.
Oh, that's fantastic. You really took the shoot for the moon expression quite literally. So that is outstanding. So Ashok, I want to thank you again for all your insights, all the knowledge and experiences that you shared with us today. For our audience, thank you for participating, listening today. A reminder: the podcast was recorded. It will be available in our different streaming platforms. And with that in mind, Ashok, have a great rest of the day. And our audience will see you again in 2 weeks.
No, thank you, Gerardo. Good talking to you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Bye-bye.